We'll be talking about adult party games. Board games muna tayo today. So, I've been teaching board games for a few years now. Napatigil lang ako dahil sa pandemic because our restaurant had to close. But in our restaurant, we were teaching board games. So I'll be talking about a few party games that I have here. Adult party games now is actually based on a game called Apples to Apples. Apples to Apples is actually a family-friendly game. The idea of the game is one player draws a random card, a question, or a sentence, and other players will try to fill in the answer or fill in the blank with other cards that they hold. And this usually results in a funny way. The person who drew the card would judge who would have the best answer. So that's the mechanics of the game. Suddenly, this game called Cards Against Humanity had a simple idea of, rather than just family-friendly topics, they just inserted random topics that they should be familiar with, general topics that you hear from everywhere, and it can also involve toilet humor, religion, anything under the sun. And this game blew up, as in it talagang sobrang sikat niya. It really blew up. So many people got into Cards Against Humanity. But you have to be warned with it because, as I mentioned, it can be anything under the sun. So because of that, it's not really designed for kids. So that's why we call it adult party games. Because of that unbounded concept, maraming nag-e-enjoy sa kanya because you can really talk about anything. But at the same time, you can also offend somebody with the game. It might talk about religion. Might talk about something that you really care about. But you remember, this just makes a joke out of everything. So it's a fun concept. It's a fun idea. It's fun for a while. If you're like me, I've gone through many years just going through this set. It can get really tiring really quickly. At the same time, the game really requires you to be in the know of American topics, I suppose. What I noticed, because in here in the Philippines, dalawa ang culture natin dito eh. Some of us are more exposed with Philippine culture, some of us are more exposed to American culture. Obviously, with this one, you have to have American culture ingrained into you to actually appreciate it. May binabagayan siya. So it's really it feels like it's not for everybody because some people like it, some people don't. Talking about that, since pinag-uusapan natin is yung about culture sa yung exposure natin sa details. Mayroon akong Pinoy version. This is Crap About Filipinos. Okay. This was originally entitled as Cards Against Filipinos, but I think medyo nagkaroon sila ng issue, so they had to change the name. Dati, this was originally distributed freely. It's a print and play game. You can download the cards and play it on its own. But at the same time, yung original concept din niya was actually taking advantage of Cards Against Humanity. So you mix in these cards dun sa cards ng Cards Against Humanity. And because of that, it really mixed in yung humor ng Filipinos. And on its own, it's also good. It's also good. Pero ang ano din dun, it's the same concept as Cards Against Humanity. At the same time, ganun din ang problem niya with what problem it has with Cards Against Humanity, na it requires you to be familiar with general topics in one particular country. It's the same thing with this one. It's identical. If you're not familiar with Philippine general information, and you're gonna be blank with Crap About Filipinos. So both of those games really gets mixed results. So it really depends on you. So the thing is, Cards Against Humanity is around Parang 1.5, I think. Cards Against Humanity is around 1.5. This, on the other hand, is actually 2.5. This is expensive. Each set that it's sold is 2.5, and it's quite heavy. But it just depends on your humor. So if I'm gonna get my money's worth It just really depends on who you're gonna talk to, who are you going to play it with. Really, it really depends on the group. And with most board games, just one person not having fun can actually affect the fun factor for everybody else. Okay, so we talked about two games, Cards Against Humanity and Crap About Filipinos. Next, I'll be talking about a game inspired from a drinking game called Never Have I Ever. This is Never Have I Ever. This one, it's hard to really say that this one really depends on who you are playing it with. The game mechanics is weird. So the game mechanics alone is confusing. It's simple, actually, but somehow it doesn't make sense. Sometimes it tells you that you have to pass a card to the player to the next and let that person answer it, or it's gonna tell you that reveal something that you are uncomfortable with. But the idea is like that. Sometimes all of you have to pass each cards to each other, and the rules are inconsistent, and it's hard to tell if the game is actually working. And really, this game really depends on the people you are playing with, and it can get really uncomfortable because, again, this game can be really personal. It can be awkward. So this is not a game that you want to be playing with your parents or kids, for that matter. So it can be fun, but it really depends on the people you are with. But for some people, it can get awkward. Especially maybe because it's like me, I'm up at a certain age that I don't really need to know everybody's secrets. So it can get just awkward to me, just listening to other people's secrets, because if they want to tell secrets, they just say it if they need it, not to be forced by a game or peer group. Yeah, this is uncomfortable to me, so this is harder to recommend than the other two. The next one is actually based on a comic strip. If you're familiar with Cyanide and Happiness, then you might have fun with this one. This is Cyanide and Happiness. What I liked about this is that you have to have imagination of making a comic strip. Each card is like a panel of a comic strip. What you have to do is actually fill in those panels. By default, the rule is one person will place two cards in front, so that two cards will already tell a story. But other players will place third card. Now, the one player who placed two cards will now judge which is the best card to match the comic strip that he has started. I kind of like this game, but at the same time, there's a lot of toilet humor, there's a lot of adult things here, and violence even. It's fun if you are imaginative, because it can result into so many things. It's interesting because there's so many possibilities with the cards. At the same time, I think they provide blank cards for you to fill in if you like. I like this because it's imaginative. At the same time, with a limited number of cards, there's only so much that you can do. Even though I like the idea, it's just there's only so many things that you can do with it. But it is fun. But somehow, in my experience with watching people playing these games, most people don't stay too long with this one. It's because it really pushes their brain a bit of how to actually finish a comic strip. So some people enjoy it, some people don't again. But this is not so bad. With all the other games that I've shown earlier, this is something that I would consider. Again, this might be like 1 plus. This has lesser cards than Cards Against Humanity or Never Have I Ever. Lastly, this is Hugot. This is a locally made game, and this really caters to the Filipino market. So if you are from another country, this really might not work for you. In all the games that I have showed you, Hugot is interesting because it's a game that really requires you to think. It might result to toilet humor, adult humor, or whatever, but the cards that you supply is not the full answer. It requires you to add something else. it requires you to say something in addition to the card. So in a sense, it is somehow, even though it is an adult game, you still have to think to make the answer better than what it is. Although some people answer with just cards without answering anything, but it really requires you to answer something to make your answer really good. And with all the games that I've shown you, this was the most interesting to me. And really, this is not expensive. This is a really good game. This is for 499 pesos. By the way, I'm selling these. If I hope I still have stock though, at some point, because I just have only a few copies left, and hopefully I can restock again. But with my experience with the game, it is fun for the local Filipino market. It's really caters to that Filipino feeling. Much better than crap about Filipinos. Because I think hugot is really ingrained to our culture. That's why it works. The problem with the game, I suppose, it's just a few cards. It's not that many. And at the same time, expansion packs are small. And it does not work with a lot of people. It only works with if they're just like 5, 8 people that it works. But with more than that, it's just it's a little hard to remember what other people said. But it's one of the better games that's there. But okay, so, but I'm telling you this because this is my exposure with party games. It's not my favorite genre. It's not even a genre that I would present. Personally, because I like games that you use your imagination. That's why maybe I'm inclined to play Joking Hazard instead. But I like what Hugot did. You have to be creative with the cards that you have chosen. And I like that concept. I really enjoy the concept that Hugot has done. Yeah, it really depends on you. It really depends on the people that you are with. So that's my take on some adult party games. So I didn't dwell into the other type of party games like Secret Hitler or Avalon, because these are not just adult games. These are what they call a deception game. Maybe I'll talk about that in a different time, different day. That's pretty much it. Those are the adult party games that I have here. So I'll be talking about other party games. Remember, if you like movies, scoops, comics, go to Geekosity. Check it out. If you like this video, you can like. If you like my content, you can subscribe so you can be updated with whatever video that I'll be uploading. Anyway, thank you very much, and till next time, bye bye.